Kondratyev's theories have been actually reinterpreted and updated by David Harvey in a book called The Enigma of Capital, which also develops the idea of the 50-year long cycles punctuated by these major milestones in which the economic model is bust and reconstructed and capital reinvents itself. And it's an attractive vision. But it is problematic as well, isn't it? Because this idea that history, in a sense, is a big process punctuated by milestones over which we have really very little control can engender this sort of pessimism. And it's actually, you mentioned Hayek, but Karl Popper, of course, is the great scourge of Marxism, of historicist Marxism, that says history is a grand process, to which there's a certain inevitability. The problem with it is that it deprives us of this sense that we can actually take responsibility for solving some of these problems. And you've written a book yourself in which you said, I think rather more clearly than you said this evening, that there are large groups of working class people around the world who are actually taking control of the means of production, finding new cooperative means, devising new business models for themselves, and collectively improving their economic welfare, their economic condition. Now, I mean, do you not think that there's a sense in which we need to seize the moment and develop these cooperative-style business models, for example, more ambitiously?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that question. And I mean, as always, I try and be more of an observer than a prescriber. So, I mean, I think first thing is, I don't think understanding the big objective movements that you're going through. In other words, in this sense, I don't agree with Kondratyev. Kondratyev was a hyper-determinist, hyper-materialist, more materialist than a Marxist. He wasn't a Marxist in that sense. He was hyper-determinist because he was a scientist and had been brought up in a strange, what we call formalist way of thinking in Russia. But if you can understand the big waves that are coming, then I think you can kind of work out, at the very least, survival strategies. There are certain strategies that allow you to understand what's going on. Now, where I think the relevance of cooperativism, communality, the commons is coming from is something that I've purposely not talked about today, because I think it's a whole other lecture, and I've got to do at least 3. So, and is that there is a growing conviction, both in mainstream economics and in radical economics, that what is happening because of this rate and scale of technological progress and deployment is to make quite a lot of life's goods, given that a lot of life's essential goods are effectively information and that the value in them is information, that a lot of them are becoming indistinguishable from having no value. Now, this might be something you're thinking, what's he on about? Is this something he learned in Occupy London Stock Exchange? In fact, the famous academic paper on it is Paul Romer, 1990, which opens up a whole school of understanding the declining pricing power of capitalism. The relevance of that is, if we're in a period where increasing numbers of goods contain so little value as to be quite low priced or almost free, or should be free, the only thing that keeps them from not being free is monopoly power. This is what Romer argues. Now, in other words, the whole debate about social justice and sustainable business model versus non-sustainable business model, which we've had for a while in CSR, and we've had it, in socially responsible investment, etc., gets recast around whether monopolies are preventing goods that should effectively be quasi, and I don't mean in a left-wing way, quasi-communally used and shared from being so. Stuart Brand, the inventor, one of the inventors of the modern computer and the internet, at the time in the Whole Earth Cookbook, the radical hippie manual of the 1960s, famously said, "Information wants to be free." That's a 40-year-old phrase. Information wants to be free. The network economy effectively was, as a concept, invented by Kevin Kelly, a radical technology journalist, in the mid-1980s. These are not new ideas, they are old ideas. And my intuition, this is nothing more than intuition, is in fact that what you're talking about not just the ad hoc commune or cooperative set up in a local estate, but things on the scale of Mondragon, or the cooperative society itself in a place like Britain. There are big co-ops, there are big alternative business models that precisely ask the question, what should be free and shared, and where does the value then come from for the entrepreneur? This is a massive extra debate. I've got no time to go into it, but my intuition is that the next phase, the 50-year phase, could be one of the debates we will have is about what should be free.